Welcome back to another episode of the Tracy Take. Today we are going to be breaking down all the Sunday day games and night game, and then also the Monday night game as well in the Week 7 NFL season. We have already done the Thursday night football game between the Denver Broncos and Cleveland Browns. I went a little bit more in depth. If you haven't seen that, go check out that video. And before we get into this, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so you can see when we create new content. Like this video, comment on this video, let us know your thoughts or if there's any other bets that you would take. Ryan, let's get into it. We're starting off with probably the best game of the week, in my opinion. And yes, I'm biased. My Atlanta Falcons are going to the Miami Dolphins, who just gave Jacksonville their first win. And I'm going to keep riding the hot streak, and the Falcons have been playing well. I think Miami is going to give Atlanta their third win of the season. Mm-hmm. Atlanta are the favorites. They're 2.5 points with the over-under at 47.5. Ryan, what are your thoughts and going into this game?
Well, frankly, Miami is not very good right now.
And I like how blunt that was. Like, yeah, so they suck. And anyways, and so
yeah, I mean, when you lose to Jacksonville, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I think that they are gonna. I don't want to say adopt a tanking mentality, but I think they're going to start playing a lot of younger players, try and give people more opportunities and see what they have in some of their other guys. Just because right now I don't think playing more veteran players is a good option for them. And so I think they're going to start experimenting with younger talent and do things like that and start to plan for next year. Because if you look at it, they'll probably have to go 10-7 minimum to get a wild card spot in the AFC. And they're going to go 9-2 after they started out 1-5. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
And so I just think Atlanta is going to come in there. They'll probably win by 2 scores, 10, 14 points. I feel like maybe a 31-17 type of game.
Mm-hmm. So. Okay. I like to hear that. Yeah. I think here, let me look at, so this is the defense. And so both defenses aren't spectacular. No. But particularly in the run game, Miami has as the 22nd ranked run team, while Atlanta, shockingly, is actually 8th. That's probably because they give up so many passing yards. Yeah, and yards allowed. So I have a feeling with Cordell Patterson, the Falcons have really found something in him. I hope he stays healthy. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to have a game. And one guy to watch out for, though, is I feel like Myles Gaskin's going to have himself a game. He leads Miami in receiving yards. And he's had some games where he has had breakout.
He's hit or miss.
Rushing games, yeah. But I think he can be deadly because I think the Falcons' secondary is probably their weakest aspect. And I could see some screens and some maybe pass out in the flats, and he might have a good game.
Yeah,
especially on the fantasy side, just if he gets a lot of receptions. But wow, actually, Atlanta is 5th in passing yards allowed.
Wow. Okay.
Man, I never would have guessed that. And Miami on the flip side is 29th. So it's just statistically based off all this stuff. It is it's leaning towards Atlanta just statistically being the better team. But now moving on to the next game, it is going to be the Washington football team going to Green Bay. Green Bay is 8.5 point favorites with the over-under at 49. Ryan, take it away.
Washington, I feel like, is in a similar boat with Miami. Their defense just hasn't performed to the expectation that they lived up to last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, personally, I think Green Bay will pretty much steamroll them. They were able to keep it close. The Washington football team was able to keep it close against Kansas City last week because, frankly, the Chiefs looked really bad in the first half. Mm-hmm. 2 stupid turnovers, and that's what kept Washington in it. In the second half, they gave up 21 points, and frankly, I think they'll probably end up giving up 42 points this week.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah, and that's what. So I'm looking at this. I feel like the Packers can cover the spread because of just how atrocious that Washington defense is.
Yeah,
I'm kind of leaning towards a parlay of Green Bay covering the spread and also the over, as we saw Kansas City last week. Also has a one of the best offenses in the league, similar to Green Bay. They're also a weak defense. They won 31-13, and it could have been much more. There were a lot of I guess just kind of sloppy plays on both sides of the field. I feel like if Washington can tighten that up, they can probably put up 17, 21 points, and I feel like Green Bay is going to be in the 30s fairly easily against this defense. So a potential thought out there for you guys for a parlay going into this, because I just think Green Bay is going to have too much firepower.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But up next, speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, they are taking on the Tennessee Titans this week. Tennessee Titans coming off a big win after a very stupid decision by Sean McDermott. And I think the momentum rolls into week 7, and I think the Tennessee Titans will do what they did to Buffalo to Kansas City. I think it'll be a very similar type of game. I think Derrick Henry will again rush for 150 plus yards, multiple touchdowns. Yeah. And I just think that they'll be able to run over this Kansas City Chiefs defense, which is the worst in the NFL. I don't know if it is statistically now because they held Washington to 13 total points. But
but it's really bad.
It is one of the worst, if not the worst, defense in the NFL.
They're 29th technically, but it's also there are some teams though that had buys last week that might be kind of messing with it. Oh, that might be why the Falcons were so low. So that might make that might make some more sense. It doesn't say points per game, but
usually
anyways,
that's an average, so it shouldn't matter. But
that's fair. But anyways, I do agree. I think the Titans actually are going to pull this one out. I will keep riding the high, so I'm going to take I'm going to take the Titans. Honestly, I'm going to take the Titans to win straight up. I'm surprised. Kansas City is 5.5 point favorites with the over under at 57.5.
Yeah,
I know. I can maybe see being Kansas City 1-2 point favorite if you really want to go with that. But Tennessee does have a better record. They're coming off a much better victory, and just off the eye test, they look much better. And the Bills' defense is up there as one of the better ones, and Derrick Henry just torched them. And the Kansas City defense is not good at all.
No.
So I think the Titans can win this one straight up. It's tough to get 58 points. I mean, that's a 30-28 game. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. That neither of these defenses are good. If there's one thing that I'm probably for certain going to do is I'm going to do the over at 57.5.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a very high scoring game.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But all right, next up is the New York Football Jets. I don't think that's right, but they're going to New England and playing your Patriots. New England is a 7-point favorite with the over at 42.5. These two teams have played already. If I'm not mistaken, the Patriots won 25-6. Correct?
Yeah, that's about right.
In week 2, I think that New England is going to win the game. That 7-point spread is kind of high. I know that New England has good defense, but this Jets offense just feels like they've been playing better, more established football. Even against the Falcons, not comparing the two defenses, but in that second half, they looked like they kind of had their shit together. They looked a little bit more organized. They were able to move the ball a little bit more. Maybe they're going to be able to find some luck here against New England. I think New England's going to win the game, but that 7-point spread makes you think a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think New England. So I think while the Jets' offense has gotten a little bit of their shit together, I think so has New England's. And New England has found a rhythm with Hunter Henry and the other tight end Jonnu Smith, as well as Kendrick Bourne. And I think New England will hit a stride offensively. I'm actually, what is the over-under at?
42.5.
42.5. I'm actually going to take the over. I think this game will be somewhere in the low 50s in total points. I think it could be a 31-21 type of game.
Okay.
I just think New England's defense isn't as good as it's been expected, but I think that offense has slowly gotten better as the year's gone on. And so I think maybe that they'll give up a couple touchdowns. But look, last time they played, Zach Wilson threw 4 interceptions. I don't really expect him to throw less than 2. He's just been that loose with the football.
Yeah.
And so I just think that the Jets are going to make too many mistakes, and that New England will pull this one out and get their first home win of the year.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right. I like that. I think it's going to be a better game than the first one. I think Zach Wilson, as you said, has developed a lot more, but so has Mac Jones.
yeah,
And so it's going to be kind of fun to see these two go at it over the next 5-10 years, probably. If they both
stay with their drafted team.
Yeah, that's true. So,
but up next is the Panthers going to the New York Football Giants. That is the correct version of that.
That's what it is.
And this is an interesting one. The Panthers haven't won a game without Christian McCaffrey, and I think the Giants are going to get back a few of their hurt players in Daniel Jones. And I think Kenny Galladay is supposed to come back.
Yeah,
as well.
I still don't think that changes. I see Carolina is a 3-point favorite with the total points at 43. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that Carolina's at 3. If I'm being honest, this New York Giants offense is not great. Saquon Barkley is not back. That's still the nucleus of this offense. Then to rely on Daniel Jones, and who I think has played better than people say. I think he's fine, but then to rely on him and then this receiving core, which is not elite, to go up against one of the best defenses in the league, even without Christian McCaffrey, I just think it's just going to be too easy for these guys. Now, I don't know if they're going to get to 43 points because the Panthers have struggled to put up points. Well, not to put up points, but I think to consistently put up 28 points in the game, especially when they don't need to. But I don't think the Giants are going to put up more than 10, 13 against this Panthers defense.
Yeah. I would say probably 24-13 type of game, 24-10.
It seems exactly like that Panthers-Texans Thursday night game from about a month ago. That's what it seems like. Because I just don't see the Giants are going to be able to generate offense, so to say. They played the Rams defense. They played the Rams last week, and of course, obviously it's the Rams. It's not the Panthers, but the Giants couldn't generate any form of offense whatsoever without Saquon Barkley in there.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think we're both picking the Panthers and the under.
Yep.
So, but up next, I have an opinion on this one, but I want to get yours first. The NFC North, AFC North rivalry. Don't know why that was so hard to think of. AFC North rivalry. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to the Baltimore Ravens. This would actually be for the division lead at the moment. And this is interesting. The Ravens have been playing well, but I think the Bengals have also really hit a stride lately with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. It's an interesting one.
Yep. And let me find this here. So the thing for me is if Joe Mixon is healthy, I think the Bengals have a chance. The Ravens have one of the worst run defenses in the league, so I think they're going to be doing a heavy load. Sorry, not run defense. That's pass defense. 1 second here. Let me double check this here.
They have.
Okay, I take that. Well, they will still need Joe Mixon to stay healthy.
Yeah.
The Ravens have the third best rushing defense, but they have what did I just say? One of the worst passing defenses, and so you're going to need Joe Mixon to stay healthy. But I think Joe Burrow and the receiving core, I think, are going to need to have a great day, and that's what I'm sticking with. So, but the spread. What's the spread again? Baltimore 6.5-point favorites with a total of 47. You know what? Bengals, the games that they've lost have been extremely close. Because they lost to the Packers, and then what was their other loss? They lost to
the Bears.
Oh yeah, they shouldn't have lost to the Bears. Okay, and that one was close. So I honestly think I'm going to go with the Bengals to cover the spread.
Yeah, no. I am also going to go with the Bengals. I think the Ravens have gotten slightly lucky this year. If it's not for Patrick Mahomes fumbling the football, they lose to the Chiefs. Justin Tucker doesn't literally break one of the longest, or I guess not one of the longest standing NFL records, but because it was just broken a few years ago. But doesn't break doesn't break an NFL record. They lose to the Lions. they beat the Broncos. They should have lost to the Colts. The Colts gave that game away through kicking. And I think it'll finally. I think they're going to run out of luck this week. I think the Bengals will get a win and start leading that division, which is actually not necessarily what we predicted would happen at the beginning of the year. We actually had we had these two teams in the middle, but Ravens were slightly ahead.
Yeah, so just slightly. So
yeah,
that's gonna be a fun to watch. That's gonna be one I'm definitely gonna be keeping my eye on to see what the result is. But next up, we are getting into the afternoon games. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 3-point favorites with the total at 49. If I'm not mistaken, aren't the Raiders? They're tied for the division lead right now with the Chargers.
Yes, but they're behind because they lost their first matchup.
Okay, yeah, but they're still 4-2. They're still 4-2. They're ahead of Denver, and they beat Denver. They're ahead of Kansas City, and I think that they're going to get another win here. The Eagles have just they've kind of been what we were expecting them to do. They came out hot against Atlanta, but that offense struggles, and that defense just isn't. They're so weak in the run that it opens up the passing game to them. And people were talking about the performance after in the second half of them almost coming back against Tampa Bay. But if Tampa Bay doesn't, if they actually paid attention and didn't make just kind of loose errors, that game is not close. That game is not close at all.
No, yeah. And Tampa Bay let him back in the second half. It really, the offense kind of went a little conservative, stopped throwing the ball down the field as much.
Yeah.
I'm picking Las Vegas. Hold on.
Rue disagrees with that.
Sister Indy.
Yeah, the Raiders, they're a weird team because with everything going on off the field, obviously, but they have a lot of talent. Derek Carr has thrown for just shy of 2,000 yards already up to this point, with Henry Ruggs being kind of the star receiver with 20 receptions, 445 yards, and 2 touchdowns up to this point. They have some weapons, and they're going to keep kind of continuing to develop. And a guy who to watch out for, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, I think, is going to have a day, especially with all the struggles that we already mentioned on the Eagles' run defense.
Kenyon Drake as well. The Eagles have struggled covering guys out of the backfield a little bit. So, just a guy to keep an eye on. But yeah. So up next we have. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. The Detroit Lions are going to the Los Angeles Rams. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this one, but the Los Angeles Rams are going to win.
Yeah.
And take it away. I'm about to have dogs barking everywhere.
That's okay. Well, for me, my thought is the spread right now for the Rams are 15-point favorites with the total at 50.5 points. As we already saw last week, the Rams easily covered the spread against the Giants, but they didn't get over the point total. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was 38-3, so only 41 total points. I feel like it would have been a little bit higher. And I feel like this is a really tough one because the Lions offense, the Lions can be sneaky good and can put up some sneaky points. The Rams have one of the better defenses in the league, absolutely. And then they're going to shut down the run, so the Detroit's going to play kind of predictable because they don't really have much of a run offense to begin with. Or I guess their pass offense is better than people expect, but probably only because they've been down so much. They've had to come back. But it's just for me, when betting for the Rams, you don't want to do a money line bet, but that spread is so high, 15 points. Is there going to be some garbage time touchdowns where they only win by 14 or something like that? So that's going to be a really tough one. But this is going to be a tough one to bet on, but if you want to make some easy money, the Rams are going to win the money line bet for sure. So, but
I agree. Sorry, I'm dealing with some barking dogs right now, so I'm trying to get them.
That's totally okay. I get it. They're just disagreeing with our picks. But I'll continue. The next up is going to be the Houston Texans going to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are 17.5-point favorites with the over-under at 47.5. Very similar issue, in my opinion, as a game that we just talked about. The Cardinals are definitely going to win. 17.5 points, though, is a lot to bet on. That Texas offense, and Davis Mills hasn't been horrible, But really, to me, it's going to be kind of what kind of Cardinals teams come up. When they played the 49ers a couple weeks ago, you saw that they weren't they showed up and they felt like they did enough to win, and that was it. They did the same thing against Jacksonville a few weeks prior to that. But then in between those games, at the Rams, dominate. At Cleveland, dominate. And would have covered the spread in both of those games, and the overs would have been there for sure. So in betting on this game against the spread, obviously the Cardinals are going to win. But, 17 and a half points, that's a lot of possessions. And it's not like the Texans and Davis Mills haven't been able to put up points. So what are your overall thoughts on this game?
Well, now that the dogs
You're
are
muted.
barking, I can clearly think about it. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But no, I think that I think the Cardinals are clearly going to win. 17 and a half points is a lot, but I think it's definitely something that can be overcome, I guess. Like, the Cardinals could definitely beat them.
Oh, the Cardinals are going to win the game.
35-0.
Yeah, that's a no doubter.
That's not out of the question. But I mean, they really could beat them 35-0. I would still take the Cardinals with the spread. I mean, if you look at a lot of the games that Houston's played, they have lost by, if not 17 and a half, close to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but
we'll have to see. It's definitely going to be the Cardinals win. Cardinals are going to go to 7-0. But next up, another big spread game. The Chicago Bears are going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is only 12.5-point favorite with the over-under at 47. And to me, out of the three games that we just went over, I feel like this is the one actually where I feel kind of confident. I'm going to take Tampa Bay with the over. If we have seen, if the Bears, their strength on their defense, I would say, is probably their run stop ability. And if they're a little bit weaker, it's going to be their pass defense. And Tampa Bay doesn't really have much of a run offense, only unless the other team is extremely weak. But however, their pass game is obviously one of the best. And I think they have so many weapons. I think Antonio Brown is going to have a day because obviously you're going to need to guard Mike Evans. You're going to need to guard Chris Godwin. So you can have Antonio Brown in the slot and move him around and create mismatches. And really, that's kind of what Tampa Bay has been doing all season, and that's why Antonio Brown has had some some great games. So I think that I think that they're going to easily cover the spread. I can honestly see it being something similar to the Miami game where maybe it's not 45-17, but maybe 35-14, something like that. Another thing, too, is Tampa Bay is one of the worst pass defenses in the league, but their run offense is by far the best. And with Justin Fields,
run defense, you mean?
Yeah, their run defense. And with Justin Fields throwing the ball, who knows what mistakes he's going to make. The Bears have had very run-heavy offenses, and I think the Buccaneers, they're going to be able to contain a lot of that stuff. It's going to be relying on Fields to throw balls and to make accurate throws, and that's something that we have seen that he has struggled with. So I'm curious how he's going to do against this Tampa Bay secondary.
Yeah, no. The Tampa Bay secondary will be interesting because as they get healthier, these guys should slowly come back, and it should get better. But right now, I think teams can really take advantage of it. I don't know if Justin Fields can necessarily truly take advantage of it. I just don't know if he's far enough along. I don't know if that they even throw the ball enough. I think he's averaging somewhere between 20 and 25 total throws a game, like not even completions. So, but all in all, I think the Buccaneers are going to win it. Pretty similar fashion to what I think what they did a week ago against the Dolphins. But yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. Anything can happen. The Bears have been competitive this year, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And then the last game for Sunday is going to be the Indianapolis Colts at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers coming off a bye. Indianapolis Colts coming off a big win against Houston, 31-3. I mean, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, the 49ers, they're 4-point favorites, and the over-unders are 44. I'm kind of surprised that the 49ers are favorites. I don't think Trey Lance has really established himself yet as
Mm-hmm.
being able to run that offense and not make mistakes against a Colts defense that, if I am not,
Fairly underrated, I think.
they're underrated. They're 16th in overall passing yards up to this point. Unless, running yards allowed to this point. In Indianapolis, passing yards up to this point, they are 21st. Okay, all right, so that's a little bit different um, than I have expected. But in points allowed, they are 13th. So I would say in an average to maybe above average defense, but I think with some sneaky talent in there against a Trey Lance team that I think is going to be more run heavy, so it might be a little bit more predictable. But the Colts, the big thing for me is the Colts offense seems to have found its stride over these past couple of games. Jonathan Taylor has
Yeah.
really seemed to click on. Carson Wentz seems to be kind of grooving a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
with Michael Pittman and Paris
T.Y. Hilton
Campbell.
just came back.
T.Y. Hilton just came back. So I'm actually kind of leaning towards the Colts to win straight up, but I would not be surprised actually if this does not cover the total points at 44.
Yes, I agree. I think the Colts could win a game that would actually, in my opinion, be pretty similar to the Ravens game. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing is I think the Colts, they just can't get conservative again.
Yeah.
And they have to make their field goals. If they can
Well,
make their
yes.
field goals, I'm taking the over and I'm picking the Colts.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
if the Colts can't stop making mistakes, then
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to go with the 49ers. So,
Yeah. Well, and for what it's worth, I know this is just total yards. This isn't on a breakdown, but San Francisco has the number one pass defense in yards allowed right now. Now, that is a game short, so that's probably, let's say you had 300 yards. That puts them in the top 10. And rushing yards wise, they are 10th right now. Let's say you had 100 yards, is going to put them in. Actually, maybe let's add 150. That's going to put them in the low 20s. So we could potentially expect to see another big game by Jonathan Taylor if they're going to have a run heavy
yeah.
offense. But I think it's going
Yeah.
to be a low scoring game. I just don't see either team with the defense being above average and the offenses being average, so to say. I feel like it's going to be a lower scoring game, and so that's probably going to be what I'm leaning towards. But now moving to the final game, the Monday night game that honestly probably no one really cares about too much.
No.
The New Orleans Saints, they are 3-2. They were a quiet 3-2. Are going to the Seattle Seahawks, a Russell Wilson less Seattle Seahawks, and the Saints are 5-point favorites with the over/under at 43. The Saints have one of the better defenses in the league. They are also coming off a bye, and Seattle is really struggling right now. Just trying to find a groove. They did come back and almost beat Pittsburgh in last week's. I think was it. They have a Thursday night game or was it Sunday night? I think it was Sunday
I think
night.
it was
Actually,
Sunday night.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
However, this is just a weird game to pick. I haven't really watched too much of the Saints, and I'm surprised that they're 3-2. I feel like they've just been really quiet. But I mean, Jameis Winston doesn't even have 1,000 yards passing, and Alvin Kamara only has 368 yards running, and yet they have a winning record. I'm not really quite sure how to take the Saints team. I'm going to be looking forward to watching them, but yeah, I don't really know. I don't know how to bet on this game.
They're an interesting team to watch because they're very defensive heavy.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to play into their that's going to play well against Seattle because I think Seattle right now has to put up points.
Yes.
And so I think Seattle's going to lose in the trenches for sure. On both sides. So I'm going to favor the Saints. What's the over under?
43.
Saints are 5 points, 43.
Yep.
I'm probably going to take the under.
Okay.
But man, I just don't. Neither of these teams are, in my opinion, that great.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards what you said with the Saints winning, only because, as you said, they're going to dominate the trenches, and they're going to be without Russ Wilson and also Chris Carson as well. I don't believe Chris Carson is going to come back. I know he's on IR right now, so that's just going to be tough. I also think, actually, I take that back. I also think their second string running back is out. Collins. I think Seattle's second string running back is also out. So Seattle's just going through the injury bug, but we call this and we're kind of seeing this coming. Seattle's, I think, is going to be on the dive, really, until they fix the offensive line. But probably going to lean towards New Orleans in this one as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I don't really have too much else to add for any of these games. Do you have any final thoughts?
Nope, nope. I'm looking forward to another week. It's neat seeing kind of now at this point we have a good feeling for all the teams and how certain players, with or without them, really kind of affect the performance of the team. And so it should make betting easier. But as we've seen over the past like these past 5 games, it was kind of tough to figure out which team's going to win. Well, not which team's going to win, but which spread do we feel confident in?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that. But all in all, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Tracy Take. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought about this episode. And we will see you guys next time.